The envelope trembled in the presenter's hand. At exactly 9:47 p.m. on March 15th, 1973, inside the Grand Ballroom of the Hong Kong Hilton, 2,000 of Asia's most powerful entertainment figures sat in absolute silence. On the massive screen behind the stage, a name appeared in golden letters. Bruce Lee stared at that screen for 3 full seconds without moving, without blinking, without breathing. Then he turned to his wife Linda, and the expression on his face was something no camera had ever captured, something no interview had ever revealed, something that would haunt everyone who witnessed it. Disbelief. Pure, overwhelming, almost childlike disbelief. Because the name on that screen was not his. And what it meant would change everything he thought he understood about his place in the world. This is the story of that night. The award that shocked him. The speech he never prepared. And the moment when Bruce Lee realized that he had become something far greater than a movie star. This is the story of the night Bruce Lee discovered his own legacy while he was still alive to see it. Hong Kong, March 1973. The Asian Film Awards had been established 3 years earlier to celebrate excellence in cinema across the continent. It was the most prestigious ceremony in the region, attended by stars, directors, producers, and executives from 12 countries. Bruce Lee had been nominated before. Best Actor for The Big Boss in 1972. He had lost to a Japanese dramatic performer, a respected choice, and had accepted the result graciously. This year, 1973, he was nominated again. Best Actor for Way of the Dragon, the film he had written, directed, and starred in. The film that had broken every box office record in Hong Kong history. He expected to win. The industry buzz was unanimous. His performance was transcendent. His film was revolutionary. The award seemed certain. But that wasn't the award that would change everything. Bruce and Linda arrived at the Hilton at 7:30 p.m. The red carpet was chaos. Photographers, journalists, fans pressed against barriers, screaming his name. Bruce wore a simple black suit. No flashy jewelry. No designer labels. He looked like a man attending a business meeting, not a star arriving at the biggest night in Asian entertainment. Linda wore a green dress that matched her eyes. She held Bruce's arm as they navigated the gauntlet of cameras. Inside, they found their table near the front. Bruce exchanged greetings with colleagues, accepted congratulations on his nomination, posed for photographs with other nominees. He seemed calm, confident, the professional image firmly in place. But Linda knew him better than anyone. She saw the tension in his shoulders, the slight tightness around his eyes. Something was bothering him. During a quiet moment between arrivals, she leaned close. "What is it?" Bruce shook his head. "Nothing." Linda waited. Bruce sighed. "I've been thinking about something. About what happens after Enter the Dragon. About what comes next." "What do you mean?" He looked around the ballroom at the gathered luminaries, the stars and executives and power brokers of Asian cinema. "All of this," he said quietly, "is about to change. Enter the Dragon is different. It's not just an Asian film with Asian distribution. It's a Hollywood production with global reach. When it releases, everything will be different. Isn't that what you wanted?" "Yes, but I'm not sure any of us understand what it will actually mean. What will cost?" Linda squeezed his hand. "You're worried." Bruce was quiet for a moment. "I'm aware," he said finally. "I'm aware that we're standing at the edge of something. And once we step over, there's no coming back." The ceremony began at 8 p.m. The first 2 hours followed the expected format. Technical awards, supporting performances, documentary and foreign film categories. Bruce applauded politely, laughed at the host's jokes, played the role of gracious nominee. At 9:15 p.m., the Best Actor category was announced. The presenter read the nominees. Bruce's name drew the loudest applause. The envelope was opened, and the winner is Bruce Lee for Way of the Dragon. The ballroom erupted. 2,000 people rose to their feet. The applause was thunderous, sustained, genuine. Bruce stood. He embraced Linda. He walked to the stage with the measured confidence the world expected. His acceptance speech was brief, humble, professional. He thanked Raymond Chow. He thanked his cast and crew. He thanked Hong Kong audiences for their support. He held the trophy, a golden figure in a dynamic pose, and smiled for the cameras. Standard. Expected. Forgettable. He returned his seat. Linda kissed his cheek. Colleague shook his hand. Best Actor. Way of a Dragon. Another trophy for the collection. But the ceremony wasn't over. Subscribe and leave a comment, because what happened in the next 30 minutes would shake Bruce Lee to his core. At 9:40 p.m., the ceremony took an unusual turn. The host returned to the stage with a different energy. Something unscripted. Something special. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, before we proceed to our final award of the evening, the committee has asked me to present something extraordinary. Something that has never been given before in the history of this ceremony. The ballroom stirred. Murmurs of confusion. This wasn't in the program. The host continued. This year, we receive an unprecedented number of letters, petitions, and formal requests from across Asia. From Japan, from Korea, from Thailand, from the Philippines, from Singapore, from Taiwan, from every country where cinema matters. He paused. These communications all asked the same thing. They asked us to recognize not just a performance, not just a film, but an impact, a transformation, a before and after moment in the history of Asian entertainment. Bruce Lee shifted in his seat. He didn't understand what was happening. The host gestured toward the massive screen behind him. We have prepared something, a brief presentation, and then an announcement. The lights dimmed. The screen flickered to life, and Bruce Lee saw his own face, 20 feet tall, looking back at him. The presentation began with the big boss. Clips of the fight sequences, audience reaction footage from theaters across Asia, newspaper headlines in a dozen languages. A voice narrated, the voice of the ceremony's chairman. In 1971, a film was released that changed Asian cinema forever. The big boss introduced the world to a new kind of hero. A hero who was not a samurai, not a stoic warrior, not a figure from ancient legend. A hero who was modern, dynamic, explosive. A hero who looked like the people watching him. The clips shifted to Fist of Fury. The iconic scenes. Bruce's character defending Chinese dignity against colonial oppression. More audience footage. People cheering in theaters. People crying. Fist of Fury did something no film had ever done. It gave Asian audiences a champion. Someone who fought back. Someone who won. Someone who made them feel that their stories, their struggles, their pride mattered on the global stage. Way of the Dragon appeared next. Bruce in Rome. The Colosseum fight. The humor, the humanity, the unprecedented display of physical artistry. With Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee became more than an actor. He became a filmmaker, a visionary, someone who didn't just perform within the system, but transformed it entirely. The narration paused. The screen faded to black. Then something else appeared. Letters, projected one after another. Handwritten letters from theaters across Asia. A letter from a cinema owner in Tokyo. Mr. Lee's films have increased our attendance by 300%. People come who never came before. Families, children, people who had given up on cinema. A letter from a martial arts school in the Philippines. Our enrollment has quadrupled since the big boss. Young people want to learn. They have a hero who looks like them. A letter from a mother in Korea. My son was being bullied at school. He watched your films and found courage. He stands up for himself now. He stands up for others. Letter after letter. Dozens of them. From theater owners, martial arts instructors, teachers, parents, students, ordinary people across a dozen countries. The ballroom was silent. Bruce Lee was completely still. Then the final image appeared. A number. Just a number. 147 million. The narrator's voice returned. This is the number of tickets sold for Bruce Lee's 3 films in Asia alone. 147 million people across 12 countries have chosen to watch this man tell his stories. The number faded. New text appeared. To put this in perspective, the combined population of Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore is approximately 24 million. Bruce Lee's ticket sales represent more than 6 times that population. Another pause. No Asian performer in history has achieved this. No Western performer has achieved this in Asia. This is not success. This is phenomenon. The screen went dark again. Then, finally, new words appeared in golden letters. The Asian Film Awards Special Recognition for Cultural Impact. And below it, a name. Bruce Lee. The ballroom erupted. But Bruce Lee didn't move. He stared at that screen, at his own name in golden letters beneath an award that had never existed before, an award created specifically because the standard categories couldn't contain what he had done. For 3 full seconds, he didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Then he turned to Linda, and the expression on his face was something no camera had ever captured, something no interview had ever revealed. Disbelief. Not the disbelief of false modesty. Not the performance of surprise that celebrities often gave. Real disbelief. The disbelief of a man who had spent so long fighting for recognition that he couldn't quite process receiving it. The disbelief of someone who had been rejected so many times that acceptance still felt like a foreign language. His eyes were wet. Linda took his hand. She was crying too. Go, she whispered. They're waiting. Bruce rose. The applause intensified. 2,000 people on their feet, honoring not just his work, but his impact, his meaning, his transformation of an entire industry. He walked to the stage. Slowly, each step deliberate. He was gathering himself, controlling the emotion that threatened to overwhelm his carefully maintained composure. The presenter handed him a new trophy, different from the Best Actor award. Larger, more ornate, a globe with a dragon wrapped around it. Bruce held it and looked out at the audience. And then he did something no one expected. He set the trophy down on the podium, and he bowed. A deep bow, a respectful bow, the bow of a student to a teacher, the bow of gratitude rather than pride. When he rose, his voice was thick. This award, he said, is not for me. The applause faded. The audience waited. This award belongs to everyone in Asia who has ever felt invisible, who has ever been told that their stories don't matter, who has ever watched a Western film and wondered why no one on screen looked like them. He paused, gathered himself. I didn't create those 147 million ticket sales. Those people created them. They showed up. They brought their families. They watched and cheered and felt something that Hollywood had never given them. The recognition that they exist, that they matter, that their heroes can win. His voice strengthened. I am just the messenger. The stories belong to Asia. The courage belongs to the people who needed to see it. The pride belongs to everyone who felt it when they watched a man who looked like them defeat the villains who had always defeated them before. He looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting to audiences across the region, to everyone watching, to the children in every country who have felt small, who have been made to feel less than, who have been told that their dreams are impossible because of where they come from or what they look like. I see you. And this, he picked up the trophy, is proof that the world is beginning to see you too. The applause returned. Not just applause now. Cheers. Shouts. The release of emotion that had been building since the presentation began. Bruce remained at the podium, waiting for the noise to subside. He had more to say. Finally, the ballroom quieted. I want to share something, Bruce said. Something I've never told anyone publicly. He gripped the podium. This was difficult. This was real. When I first went to Hollywood, I was told that an Asian man could never be a leading man in American cinema. I was told that audiences would not accept someone who looked like me. I was told to play servants, villains, stereotypes, to be grateful for whatever scraps were offered. He paused. I was told this by powerful people, important people, people who controlled the industry. And for a while, I believed them. I accepted smaller roles. I taught martial arts to stars who would never give me credit. I watched opportunities go to men who had half my ability because they had the right face, the right name, the right ancestry. The ballroom was completely silent. This was not the confident Bruce Lee they knew. This was the struggling Bruce Lee, the rejected Bruce Lee, the Bruce Lee who had almost given up. What changed, he said, was not Hollywood. Hollywood has not changed yet. What changed was me. I stopped asking for permission. I stopped waiting for acceptance. I came back to Hong Kong, and I made the films I wanted to make with the stories I wanted to tell for the audiences who had been waiting for someone to see them. He held up the globe with the dragon. This award is the result, not of Hollywood changing, of us changing, of Asia refusing to wait any longer, of 147 million people saying, with their money and their time and their presence, that we will create our own heroes if no one else will. He set down the trophy again. Enter the Dragon will release in 4 months. It will be the first major Hollywood production to feature an Asian lead. It will play in theaters across America, across Europe, across the world. And when it does, something will shift. The barrier will crack. Not because Hollywood finally saw us, because we became too successful to ignore. His voice rose. That is the lesson of this award. That is the lesson of 147 million tickets. You do not wait for permission to exist. You do not ask for validation from people who benefit from your invisibility. You build, you create, you succeed, and eventually, the world has no choice but to acknowledge what you have always known about yourself. Share and subscribe, because the final words of that speech would be remembered for generations. Bruce Lee looked out at the audience one last time. I do not know what comes next, he said. I do not know if Enter the Dragon will succeed in the West. I do not know if the doors we are forcing open will stay open for those who come after. He paused. But I know this. Tonight, in this room, 2,000 people are witnessing something that was supposed to be impossible. An Asian actor holding an award for cultural impact, speaking to an audience that extends across 12 countries. His voice dropped almost to a whisper. When I was a boy in Hong Kong, I used to watch American films and dream of being on that screen. I was told that dream was impossible for someone like me, and for years I believed it. He touched the trophy. This says otherwise. He looked directly into the camera. To every child watching who has been told their dream is impossible. To every person who has been rejected because of where they come from. To every dreamer who is about to give up. His eyes blazed. Do not believe them. Do not accept their limitations. Do not ask for their permission. Build your own path. Create your own success. Become so undeniable that the world has no choice but to make room for you. He picked up both trophies, the Best Actor Award and the Cultural Impact Globe. I will carry these with me for the rest of my life. Not because of what they mean about me, because of what they mean about what is possible, about what we have built together, about what we will continue to build. He bowed once more. Thank you, all of you, for giving me a reason to keep fighting. The applause was deafening. Bruce Lee walked off the stage, both trophies in his hands, tears streaming freely down his face, making no attempt to hide them. Linda met him at the edge of the stage. They embraced for a long moment, while 2,000 people continued to applaud. Later that night, in their hotel suite, Bruce sat in silence for nearly an hour. He held the Cultural Impact Trophy in his hands, turning it over and over, studying the dragon wrapped around the globe. Linda sat beside him, waiting. Finally, he spoke. I didn't know, he said quietly. I didn't understand what it meant to them. I was so focused on the work, on the films, on the fighting, that I never stopped to see what it actually meant to the people watching. He looked at Linda. 147 million people. That's not just ticket sales. That's 147 million decisions. 147 million moments when someone chose to see themselves on screen, chose to feel represented, chose to believe that someone like them could win. His voice caught. I carry that now. Not the fame, not the success, the responsibility, the weight of what those people need me to be. Linda took his hand. You've always carried it, she said. You just didn't have a number for it before. Bruce was quiet again. Then he stood. He walked to the window. Hong Kong glittered below, a city that had given him his beginning, his struggle, his redemption. For months, he said. 4 months until Enter the Dragon. For months until we find out if the West is ready. He turned back to Linda. And if they're not ready, if Hollywood rejects us again, if America decides that 147 million Asian moviegoers don't matter. He set down the trophy. We keep building anyway. We keep creating. We keep succeeding until they have no choice. That was March 15th, 1973. 4 months later, Enter the Dragon was released. It became the highest-grossing martial arts film in history. It launched a global phenomenon. It opened doors that remain open today. But Bruce Lee never saw it. He died on July 20th, 1973, 32 days before the film's premiere. The Cultural Impact Trophy sits today in a private collection. The family has never sold it, never displayed it publicly. It remains one of the few artifacts from Bruce Lee's life that the world has not seen. But the speech survives. Fragments were captured by journalists that night. The message was preserved in articles, in memories, in the testimony of 2,000 witnesses. Build your own path. Create your own success. Become so undeniable that the world has no choice but to make room for you. That was Bruce Lee's message that night. And 50 years later, it remains his legacy. Not the kicks, not the films, not the fame. The permission to exist without asking. The courage to build without waiting. The determination to become undeniable. March 15th, 1973. Hong Kong Hilton. Grand Ballroom. 2,000 witnesses. 2 trophies. 1 speech. And a man who, for one night, saw his own reflection in the eyes of 147 million people. The night Bruce Lee discovered his legacy, while he was still alive to hold it.